When we start moving on to the barbell deadlift from the kettlebell deadlift, there are a lot of things that stay the same and there are a lot of things that are different. Number one, the barbell is heavier. A lot of times we're just not going to get to the same weight with a kettlebell that we are with a barbell. And that is one of the pros of the barbell, is that we can really load up and get a lot heavier, easier with a barbell than we can with a kettlebell. With the barbell, we really have to conform our movement to the barbell versus with the kettlebell, we're able to kind of manipulate things a little bit more around the kettlebell instead of having to conform to the kettlebell. The most important thing about the barbell deadlift is nailing your setup. If you nail your setup, you are really going to nail the lift. What we want to think about when we are approaching the barbell is, number one, we want to have our shins pretty close to the barbell. We do not need to start back and far away from the barbell. So shins are going to start close to the barbell. And if your barbell has curling on it or kind of like the textured grip things, I like to make sure that the middle textured grip is really just in line with my crotch, okay? So I'm in the center of the barbell. So the center of my body is in the center of the barbell. From here, I want you to rock back and forth, because one of the things that a lot of people miss out on is finding that midfoot before they start to get down into the hinge. So we don't want to start back here, and we also don't want to start right here. So we want to make sure we rock back and forth a little bit and really kind of feel grounded in that midfoot before we start down towards the barbell. After you feel grounded in the midfoot, then we want to make sure that we have tripod pressure on the feet, okay? So I want you to be able to feel that fifth met head, so the space underneath your pinky toe, your first met head, and the middle of your heel. I want you to make sure that you can kind of sense all of that with the ground. This is really important for creating a lot of strength up the kinetic chain, so don't skip this part. From here, you're going to softly bend your knees and we're going to start to hinge back. So as your hips go back, I want you to make sure that the knees are not staying over your ankle. The knees need to come over the midfoot just a touch, and then we're going to continue to let the hips come back. When I'm using a barbell especially, I really like to kind of get my ribs back in my deep core set when I'm in the bottom of the hinge versus at the top. A lot of times I feel like I need to do it with a little bit of resistance or load versus starting here and then grabbing the resistance or load, because I end up redoing it anyway. So I've kind of just stopped doing it at the top and really just started doing it at the bottom before I lift the barbell. All right, so I'm in my hinge position. I got all the good stuff going on with my feet. I'm making sure that my knees are just over my midfoot. From here, I'm gonna get a nice exhale. Let the ribs come down, deep core come up. Okay, I want to make sure that I can kind of feel those proximal hamstrings are sort of turning on and that I have let my glutes lengthen. I don't want to start from here, okay? We want that tiny twerk to start, and this tiny twerk needs to stay to the best of your ability throughout the lift, because this is us lengthening our glutes, and we want that in a hinge. So I'm here, exhale, ribs down, deep core up. Now I'm gonna reach straight down, and I wanna make sure that I get some tension on the barbell before I lift. I don't wanna start from here and then just stand straight up. I need to kind of get wedged up and against the barbell and get some tension there before I go to stand up. So my final checklist before I go to stand up, I make sure I'm over my midfoot, knees slightly forward of the ankle, ribs down and back, deep core up. I'm gonna have some tension. I have my lats turned on, so I should feel this right here. And I also need to feel those proximal hamstrings ever so slightly, and I'm feeling my glutes lengthening. From here, this is a hard position for me to hold for a long time. So if you're doing it right already here, you're gonna be like, oh wow, that's a lot of stuff turning on. So that means you're doing it right. And depending on kind of what you need, I like to start my exhale and then stand up through the rest. And then you're gonna go through your reps, and you wanna make sure as you come down and back up that you're doing your very best to kind of keep that tiny twerk the whole time. We don't want the hips rising faster than the upper body, and you don't want the upper body to rise faster than the hips. One of the last important concepts to remember about the barbell is that as you're doing this lift, you're going to be breathing under a brace. So that means as you're lifting, we're never letting the tension totally go in our core. We want to make sure that as we are coming in and out of the bottom of the lift, it's kind of like a wave of tension, but it never goes totally back to baseline or relaxed. We're not doing this for max weight right now, max reps, and we're not doing this at an intensity such that we need to use a Valsalva. We are using this to build strength, but not at those end ranges of intensity. So you're gonna start, exhale, deep core up, and then as you come up, you're gonna exhale a little more. As you're going down, you're gonna inhale, but you're not going to inhale and let all the tension go in your core, okay? So you're still going to have some tension there, and it's called breathing under a brace. All right, so that is everything you need to know in a really, really quick nutshell for your barbell deadlift.